Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to part 2 here. So, in part 1 there we drew the pattern for the holster, and then we've cut it out. We got this. You'll end up with this and this right here. And believe it or not, this will turn into a holster soon. So, don't need that right now. Let's set her to the side. Like this one right here. What you're going to do is either take your punch, or if you have a drill bit, this will be the time where you can drill holes. I've got a punch, which makes everything nice and neat and even. Like so. I got these from Tandy. That is how you do it. So I found the easiest way, even though it's a bit redundant here, is just to do kind of like that. Oh, and one thing I know, so you're gonna have to sand this edge right here, this top edge. It'll need to be sanded and beveled. So I don't go all the way to the top. What I do is I basically go back a little bit and leave about, see how much, yay, room, and then I'll spin it, and that's where I'll start the that's where I'll start hammering down. And I'll do the same thing towards the bottom. I won't go all the way to the bottom either. I'll show you here, one second. So, gonna mark them real quick. At this point, you could go all the way through if you wanted. This is probably gonna shake the camera like crazy. So I'm gonna go through and pound the rest of these out, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done, because the camera is on the table, so it's shaking like crazy. One second. Alright, I'm back. So, what we've done here is we have gone through and we have punched all the holes. Now these are going to be for the belt slot, and what I did is I just take a punch like this, and I go on the top of that line that I made, boom, punch a hole, and do the same thing there. And then what we're going to do is take a ruler and connect the two together, and we will make a slot this way. Now what you're going to want to do is go right on the edge of those holes right there and go almost all the way to the end. You don't want to go all the way to the end, because once you hit this spot, you'll slip and cut through. So you go about 3/4 of the way, flip it around, you guys still see that? I'm trying to orient it in a way where you could still see it on the camera and I could still see what I'm doing too. I'm new to this whole film as you create thing here. And do the same for the other side. A little wonky there, but don't worry. You won't even be able to tell. It's best to not cut where you can't see, by the way, but I'm trying to do this in a way where the camera can still see, in case anybody was wondering. And just kind of walk it along that line there and connect the dots. And they will get cleaned up later, because they are not going to be straight this way. I can assure you of that. especially when you're trying to do it with a camera in front, in between your arms. Okay, yeah, that looks horrible. That's okay. That's all we have is sander. Try to straighten it up a little bit. There we go. Not too shabby. There's that. So I'm going to do the other side, clean it up a little bit, and move on to the next step. Okay, so now we got the slots cut. They look much better when they weren't cut on camera. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have to start getting ready for glue, things like that. Glue up there. So what you're going to want to do is, remember this is not even, so you can't level it out. You want to do one side at a time. So line it up as best you can with your first side here. So what we're going to do, and don't worry that it's not even. That's what the sander's for. So what I do is take it all here, and just put a little poke dot right there. What this does is so you know this is the spot you're going to be gluing. Nothing more, nothing less. You don't have to poke all the way through, and I don't either. I don't like to poke all the way through till it's glued, because the slightest little shift can ruin everything. Now line up this side here and do the same thing this side. Boop, 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 boop. Just like that. You've got some very faint lines that you guys probably can't see. So what I'm going to do is take a pin, and I will accentuate those lines so you can see them. Just like connect the dots here. These are a little bit harder to see, but they are there nonetheless. If you have a real hard time seeing them like that, you can just take the pin instead of the awl and poke a hole through there like that. Doop, doop, doop. And that didn't do much better. That's alright. All the way to the top up there. Now we're going to do a stitch line right here too, on this outside edge, but we're not going to worry about that till it's all put together. I do that towards the end there. So now we know where the glue goes on here, we know the glue goes on here, and we also know where to start beveling, so don't worry about this part, don't bevel that till it's all put together, because you're going to end up sanding it anyway, but you want to bevel this edge right here, and that edge right there. This is a little rough, so I'm actually going to go outside and sand that so it's a little smoother. And you want to do the same here. Bevel, stop, bevel, stop, and then do it on the bottom too, where the barrel's going to go out. Don't worry about your wings. So anyway, let me get that going, and I will get back to you after. Well, let me, I guess I can show you real quick. Let me see. Beveler. This is a beveler. Got a little fork on the end. So what you do is just put it on the edge there. You're just trying to take that sharp corner so it's not perfectly square. That's it. And then I do it to the back too usually, so it makes a nice sharpen this bad boy. Nice edge there. Same thing on the bottom. You don't want to do it all the way to the bottom though, because if you bevel that edge, it's going to leave a gap when you glue it together, and it's not going to look very good. So you want to make sure it's not as big a deal on the top as it is on the bottom. That's it. That one's beveled there. Let's see. Do this side. See the rest of that. Iranian spur and edge. It also gets rid of your excess pin marks. But let's see, make sure I bump the camera there. What this does when you go, when you go to burnish the edges, it's going to make a nice round edge. It'll help it stay smoother as opposed to a sharp edge is not going to bevel as smooth. There we go. Oh, I messed that up pretty good. I'll fix that in a minute. So on to the next step. Okay, so now we got the edges beveled there. Next thing we're going to do is dye this. You can dye before or after. I find it's pretty hard to get inside these pockets and stuff, so if I'm not leaving it that natural color, then I'll definitely dye it first. So what we're going to do is burnish these edges, and then I will go out and dye them, and that'll be, we'll finish this video with the edges being burnished. All you do is you get a burnishing tool like this right here. It's got grooves in it, so what you're going to do is you're going to pick the smallest size that will fit into the groove, and you just go back and forth. Helps if you sand it. What I do is I sand it with a Dremel, and then I use just water because I'll do gum tragicans at the end, but if you do that first you won't be able to dye it. So right now I just do water, and I take a little sponge like so, go over the top like that. Just need a little bit, don't need to be soaked, and be careful not to get it too far in here, because if you get it too deep in here you might just want to go ahead and wet the whole thing, because if it dries it can dry funny, and then it'll end up dyeing funny. So all you do is go back and forth like this until you get a smooth edge, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish these up, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Alright, so you guys see that? How nice and smooth that edge is? Beautiful. And that's just with a little bit of water and the slicker, but it'll make, can you guys hear that sound? Make kind of like a squeaky sound, and that's how you know it's doing good. All you're doing basically is laying down all these fibers, make them nice and smooth. So what you want to do, like I said, you don't want to worry about these edges because they're going to need to be fit to each other and sanded and all that stuff. But this edge will be really hard to, maybe more difficult to get to once the holster is built. You can still get to it, but I'll do this edge here and the two bottoms as well, and then we'll be ready to start gluing. So that's going to finish up for this installment here before this video gets too super long. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Leave any comments if you have any questions. Have a great day.